Hello and welcome to Telegraph Studio and Business Reporter's Digital Transformation Campaign, hosted by the Telegraph Online. I'm Alistair Greener and today I'm talking to Paul Heller from Sopheon. Good morning.
Good morning.
We hear a lot about disruptive technologies. We hear about cutting edge. We hear about things being new. And then we hear that it's absolutely crucial that every organisation embraces all of this new technology and uses it. And then we hear that it's innovation that is the key to this change. That's what's going to allow us to do it. So in that context, how would you define innovation?
Well, innovation is a business process that companies use to make a positive change in their organization in some way. Most people think of it as providing products and services, but it could also be internal processes that need to get better, more efficient. It could be that you're going to drive out costs. It could be mergers and acquisitions. Those are all different types of innovation. The key is that innovation is enabling your company to change. Nowadays, it seems to be driven a lot by business transformation.
The trouble is that any innovation needs a strategy, and some statistics are actually suggesting that only 13% of organisations who set out a strategy actually have fulfilled it 12 months later. Why is that so low?
Yeah, it's low because there for sure is a gap between strategy and execution. Most organizations do an operating plan, they develop a strategy, they file it away on a file server or on a shelf somewhere, and the people doing the day-to-day work in the company don't understand how they fit and how they align to that strategy. And so they can't get on the same page as the strategy. The strategy just becomes a distant thing. Some organizations, once they develop the strategy, they don't change it. And other organizations realize they better change it very quickly. And if the organization doesn't understand the strategy and what the strategic plan is, they really can't work within that framework.
Even if a company does execute their strategy, how do they know that they're investing in the right kind of areas to ensure that they get the best results?
Yeah. Well, when the teams who are doing the innovation work understand the strategy, they can articulate how the work they're doing supports the strategy or strategies. So now they feel empowered to align themselves to strategies. Once you've done that, the roll-up of what are we doing as a company against our strategies becomes automatic. And now you can look and say, are we executing our strategies or are we drifting? So the point is it becomes bottom-up. The teams are telling us what type of strategy they are supporting with their day-to-day work, and now we can roll that up and see, are we aligned or are we not?
And obviously operating models are key here because so often you have legacy models and legacy ways of working, some that are non-digital, and all of those kind of things get in the way sometimes. So perhaps you can give me some examples of how that hasn't worked as effectively as it could have done.
So when companies go through an annual process, they have to send troops out to go find the information, and that's locked up on file servers, personal laptops, whatever. And they have to try to glean all that information, which is probably out of date, inaccurate, or they can't find it. So then this is part of their decision-making process when they develop their strategies. And so they really don't understand the organization, and that's a manual process that takes time. We've been doing it for years, right? In today's world, you can't afford to spend months doing that. We work with a customer that takes them so long in their annual planning process that they actually complete it well into the first quarter of the year. And they really got in trouble because their competitors did it faster, and by the time they were finishing their plan, the competitor was already effective in the market. So you just can't do it manually and spend all that time and effort. It really needs to be automated.
The trouble with automation is you are then reliant on data. So how do you know that you're actually getting the right data, that it's accurate, and that it's going to work for you?
Yeah. When you have people in their work processes, they are generating data, whether it be structured or unstructured data. They're just doing that as part of their day-to-day work. What you can't do is give them another system and say, oh, and by the way, key the data into this system because we want to roll it up. You want to automatically extract that data. The way you make sure it's good data is part of that day-to-day decision process. So for instance, if an innovation team is bringing forward a new concept and they bring it forward for a funding request, those experts in the company are going to look at that and say, yes, I agree with those financials. Yes, I agree with those market assumptions, those technology assumptions. Once that's done, you now know the data is good because it gets vetted as part of that process. What that has to be the data that automatically comes up. It can't be other data, it has to be that data.
But that's only half the story, isn't it? Because once you have the data, and it is the accurate data and the right data for you, you then have to turn that data into actionable insights.
That's right, that's right. So what you don't want to do is have data feed up and then somebody higher level in the organization looks at that data and then drives directives down for work or different things to be done. You really want cross-functionally the organization to be able to discover those insights automatically. And I'd like to share an example of that. We have a customer that we worked with that was beginning an initiative to inject nitrogen into an airplane wing. As that airplane wing used up fuel, the nitrogen would make it less explosive. They started that initiative, they had a team of people working on it, and they automatically discovered that another part of their organization they were totally disconnected from had been building a nitrogen injection system for manufacturing to inject it into potato chips or crisps or whatever word you want to use, right? So that the packaging wouldn't crush during shipping. Those two found each other automatically. That's an actionable insight that nobody from the top had to push down. They discovered and the company saved millions.
Which of course is what this is all about. So tell me about Sopheon. Where do you fit into all of this?
Well, what we do is we provide software, services, and best practices to companies to help them break down cross-functional silos and reduce complexity of their process and eliminate ambiguities and inefficiencies in their decision making.
What you're suggesting, though, it seems to be a framework, a procedure, and the problem with that is it seems to be a bit of a one-size-fits-all, which contradicts innovation. So how do you actually then customize it for your clients?
I think customize is the exact right word. So each of our clients has a process that they use today. Maybe they want to make it better. That's where our expertise and experience comes in. That's where our best practices come in. But it becomes their process. They might have one, they might have 10. Whatever those processes are, we implement them in software. And the only thing we can guarantee is whatever those processes are today are very likely not the processes they're going to use tomorrow. So these processes need to become fluid and change and enable the organization to become adaptive.
I might be a CEO who says, you know what, I've gathered the data myself, I know it's accurate, I've got good people that I work with. Why do I need a third party to tell me what to do?
First of all, we have a lot of experience. The markets are changing very quickly now. Digitalization is affecting everybody. And so many of the CEOs are trying to figure out, what do I do now? I have to operate differently. We have to transform. And so transformation is at the top of mind of many CEOs. And so they're looking for experience in that. They're looking for expertise. The other one is speed. Nobody can afford to go slow anymore. So they're looking to be faster. So yes, while they have people and processes to generate that information, it's not fast enough for them to make fast, market-changing decisions.
Well, as you say, digitalization is here, it's not going to go away, and it's really interesting to see the ways that we can make the most of it and incorporate that into our own organizations. Paul Heller from Sopheon, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Alistair.